Good evening and welcome to Crawley Borough Council's Cabinet, 13th of March 2024. I'm Councillor Michael Jones, Leader of the Council and Chair of the Cabinet. This meeting is being live streamed via the Council's YouTube channel as a trial. Please note there's no comment function available on YouTube. You should be aware that the Council is a data controller under the Data Protection Act. Data collected during the webcast will be retained in accordance with the Council's published retention policy. Any members of the public seated in the public gallery may be filmed by the automated camera system and your image may be captured. Therefore, by entering the meeting room, you are consenting to being filmed and to the possible use of those images and sound recordings for webcasting and or training purposes. Councillors are reminded to take notice of what is displayed on the screens in the room as these show what is being recorded. Please can councillors remain seated when speaking as the cameras are currently set to capture seated positions. Please do not move the microphones too close to you. You can request to speak as usual in committees by raising your hand, to speak by pressing the button with a face on it, and the microphone will go green when you are live. For those in the building, there are no scheduled fire drills tonight, so in the event of a fire activation alarm, please leave the building. The main route is via the spiral staircase and through the main entrance doors. Should this route not be accessible, the secondary route is via the main spiral staircase across the contact centre and through the doors. Once outside, make your way to the fire assembly point, located beyond the multi-storey car park entrance on Exchange Road. If you are unable to use the stairs, please wait in the chamber and you'll be guided by a member of staff to the evacuation lift. I would like to request all mobile phones to be put on silent and put away, and can everyone please talk into the microphones? Agonising though that might be tonight. Just a technical word for anyone who might be viewing us at home. We are having a few issues with the audio system tonight, so we apologise for that, and we hope to have that resolved in the not too distant future. However, it does mean that there might be some mild interference with your viewing tonight, or when this is on YouTube in the future. The agenda papers for this meeting are available on the Council's website, and we'll now commence with apologies for absence. Have we received any apologies for absence?
Chair, the only apologies we've had is from the Chair of the Head of Governance, People and Performance, and the Head of Corporate Finance, who normally attend Cabinet support for the Cabinet.
Thanks very much, Chris. Disclosures of interest. Does any member have any disclosures of interest? Oh. Yeah. Councillor Nawaz.
I have a personal interest on agenda item 7, and that's why I think I have to probably leave the meeting. Yeah, personal interest and pecuniary interest. Yeah, thank you.
Pecuniary, I think you were saying.
Yep.
Yes. Yep. Okay, that's. Thank you. That's noted. Thank you, Councillor Nawaz. I don't see anyone else. In which case, we come to the minutes. Now we come to the minutes of the meeting held on the 31st of January. Does the Cabinet agree that the minutes are an accurate records of the meetings? Thank you. We now have public minutes for public question time. I don't intend to read this out in full on the grounds that I cannot see anyone currently in the public gallery. So we'll move on to the next item, which is matters referred to the Cabinet and any report from the Chair of the Overview and Scrutiny Commission. As normal, Councillor Ayling, I'll bring you in during each item. So we will now consider the second Home Council Tax Premium Report. This is included in the supplementary agenda. Tonight at Cabinet we're going to be proposing that owners of long-term empty properties and second homes in Crawley will have to pay double council tax from April 2025, and that a premium of 100% is added to council tax bills for homes that are unoccupied and substantially unfurnished for 1 year. Now currently these empty homes are subject to a 100% premium after 2 years, and there are 35 long-term empty properties in Crawley. 26 have been unoccupied for between 2 and 5 years, 5 between 5 and 10 years, and 4 properties have been empty for more than 10 years, which I suppose is up to the homeowners concerned, but seems pretty extraordinary to me. Second homeowners will also have to pay twice as much council tax from April 2025. 100% premium will apply on properties that are not a main residence and are substantially furnished. And there are currently 331 second homes in Crawley. The changes are expected to generate around £70,000 income for this council, although Sussex Police will get more than that, and West Sussex County Council will get substantially more than that, around £500,000, I believe, from the figures. The Cabinet will remember that the Council declared a housing emergency in February. The wider aim of the report is to reduce the number of empty homes and to encourage the use of properties as main residences rather than the second homes in the borough, and so help in boosting the supply of properties in the town. However, if they don't let or sell any empty properties they own, they'll be making a greater contribution to help pay for local services. It is my view, if I may express it, that at a time that many people can't even afford one home, those who are fortunate enough to be able to afford more than one house should make a higher contribution. I think that's the right thing to do. It is my hope that if this is agreed tonight, then the Cabinet's recommendations will be supported by a vote of all councillors at the next full council meeting on the Wednesday the 27th of March. So, having said that, I will bring in Councillor Ayling to present the Commission's comments. Councillor Ayling.
Thank you. The Commission considered the report from the Head of Corporate Finance. During the discussion with the Deputy Leader of the Council and the Head of Corporate Finance, the following comments were made. The wider aim of the report was to reduce the number of empty homes and to encourage the use of properties as main residences rather than as second homes in the borough. It was proposed to introduce a 100% premium on empty homes after 1 year instead of 2, and to also introduce a second home premium of 100%, both with the effect from the 1st of April 2025. The additional charges were intended to encourage owners to bring properties back into use and could boost the supply of properties in the borough. Clarification was sought and obtained regarding the penalties that would exist if any potentially fraudulent claims. It was recognised that the Council had a variety of information able to assist in fraud prevention. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ayling. If you can turn your microphone off, I think it might help with the distortion. Councillor Crowe.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I do very much welcome the legislation that came in that enabled the council to levy this charge, and I do think this is the correct way forward. Compared to a lot of places, we don't have a huge number of empty properties, but clearly it's not in anybody's interests, arguably, to have properties sitting empty for any significant period of time. And while any prospective private landlord could get a significant income from renting such a property, so it's a bit of an echo feedback, isn't there? And that is the sort of the carrot they can get. There isn't so much of a stick, so I think it's useful to increase the stick, if you like, to make it even more advantageous for one way or another for empty properties to be brought back into use. So I do very much welcome this policy. I do wonder about the figures that are being quoted. Although it does say that in terms of what the income that could be raised, but I don't see this as an income generating exercise. I see this more as being able to sort of maximise the use of existing housing that we have. But clearly, if we are going to get some additional income, that can only be welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Crowe. I'll now open the debate for other Cabinet members. I saw Councillor Mullins first, then Councillor Irvine. Yeah, thank you. Oh, it's very well mannered tonight, Cabinet. Councillor Irvine, I'll call you first then.
Well, I'm sure what Councillor Mullins is going to say is far more exciting than what I'm going to say, but I'll take it and I'll go first. And I'll just say that I very much welcome this, and I note that councils up and down the country bringing this into force. So why should we miss out? I was actually glad to hear what Councillor Crowe had to say, especially about the it's not so much an income raising exercise, which obviously is valuable, but it's also about trying to make sure that the maximum number of houses we've got in this town are used for housing people, not as some sort of I don't know why anyone would have a second home if it's not being used, but presumably it's some sort of investment. I did wonder though, on paragraph 7.4, I think Councillor Aidan touched on this. It says some taxpayers may actively try to avoid the new charges by providing incorrect information. If they did that, is that actually a criminal offence to do so?
I'm fairly confident it is, although I wouldn't like to give definitive statements on this. It sounds like straightforward fraud to obtain a pecuniary advantage to me, pure and simple. I do know that we currently, like all areas of council tax, there will be attempted fraud, and we do undertake visits to check the status of properties on the ground, and we do have other means to check this as well, such as credit searches and council information, such as we can notice, for example, when in refuse collection, when bins have not been put out for a sustained period of time. So there are things that any ardent fraudster would have to guard against should they try to defraud the council of the council tax premium. I think though maybe what we can do is we can just clarify with our officers about whether it's a criminal offence. I'm almost certain it is, so thank you, Councillor Irvine. Councillor Mullins.
Thank you. I'm on that one, isn't it? Yeah. Thank you, Leader. I do actually support completely what Ian said, and tax avoidance is tax avoidance. I don't think you can walk away from it. Look, the reason I want to speak was this week I was asked to go to part of Gossip Green, where for a number of years, so this should be already involved in extra tax, it's not going to be part of it, but we've had an empty house which I've been to look at. I need to follow it through with the officers, but it's been a good number of years now, and to the extent that it's what we would call an ex-council house in private hands, in a nice little close, and a very good family home it would make too, and it's lying completely derelict to the extent that the roof is actually starting to leak now, and it's got damaged. The neighbours report rats in the area, and there is a serious pigeon problem now growing because they can get in and out of the house. This house is what you would call an attractive type house in a terrace, which we traditionally would have been very proud to be able to let to a family, but it's in private hands, it's owned, and who the owner is of that, the neighbours do not know, because it's been quite a few years since it was left empty. The only thing I can think of is that we go to the land registry and find out who's a registered owner of that property, and something must be done. But what I need to find out is what we can do, because this is wrong, that we can have such houses. It's not the first one I've dealt with, actually, since I've been a councillor. I've been a few in the past, but this one is current, and it's a shame. It's just an awful shame to see it there when a family could be living in it. It's abandoned, really, effectively, and I think that we should do that. So why I absolutely support this policy is that if it can do something towards stopping people doing this thing and being that irresponsible, then I think it must be welcome. It's really, really bad that people can dump a house, walk away, and it's actually immoral when there's so many people who are homeless in this country. That's got to be stopped. I got to find out from the officers what we can do about this one. It's a private property that's abandoned, and I need to look at it and get some answers.
Thank you, Councillor Mullins. Councillor Noyce and Councillor Sue Mullins.
Yeah, I didn't get all of that because I had to go out for a query with Marion. But if you go onto the land registry system, you find out who owns the place, and if it's been abandoned for years and the rest of it, they still own it. And then get in touch with them and in lots of other cases and say, you know, do you want to come to some kind of arrangement or a deal? Either rent it out for us or else we'd buy it off of you. So this might actually sort of prompt and preempt that action by people anyway once they realise they're going to have to start paying a lot more.
Thank you. Councillor Sue Mullins.
Thank you. I'm in perfect agreement with this move. I think it's really important that we maximise to the fullest extent the properties we have in Crawley. As you said, there's not a lot of empty houses in Crawley, and when they come up, they, like Chris just said, Councillor Mullins just said, they stick out like a sore thumb because we don't have many empty houses like that in Crawley, and the ones that are, you look at them and think, why? Where on earth are the people that own this house? Why is it just sitting there? I'm really glad that we've taken steps to protect our residents though. I mean, renters moving between one property and another, sometimes it can take time. People who are buying a property, sometimes they're stuck between properties and it takes a while to move from one to another. And also, I think if an elderly couple have died or an elderly person's died and left the house, going through probate can take quite a long time. I actually heard on the radio today it can take up to 18 months to get probate if it's a complicated case. So they're all things that I'm sure have already been taken into account to make sure that we're not attacking the wrong people, but we're going for the right people. I do wonder sometimes when we see these completely empty houses and nobody appears to want to have anything to do with them, if maybe they're people who've decided to move abroad and have become elderly while they're there and they just don't have anybody here to look after the house for them, or they no longer have the interest in taking care of it or renting it out. Or maybe they're just intending that they're going to come back at some point in the future and hoping to find a good house when they come back. But from what Councillor Mullins just said, they're likely to come back and find rats in the basement and pigeons in the loft. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Mullins. Councillor Rana.
Thank you, Chair. I mean, Chris Mullins made very good points actually, and Sue Mullins actually said exactly what I was going to say about sometimes, you know, elderly people live in the properties and they pass away and they can't pass the houses on to their children, so they stay empty. And another thing, they can be living abroad and they pass away and so the house lies empty. So definitely, I mean, those people who actually do have second houses, it's good though that there should be, I mean, like pay council tax on those properties as well. So most of the things I want to say have already been said. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rana. So I think everyone's had an opportunity to speak now, so I'll round up. I think one needs to remember that with all of the houses we're talking about here, they tend to be privately owned. So we have very limited powers as a council, but it is often suggested by members of the public who don't necessarily know the full facts that it's all our fault. If only it were, it's something we could do about. But I would observe as well there can be explanations when you look into it as to how it's resulted. That, you know, how the length of time has gone on for so long that it's been empty. But when you get to some of the more significant lengths of time, it does really, to my mind, start to become more baffling. as to why people would choose. I think we had the figures for, homes that have been empty for 10 years plus. That just seems like you've had more than enough time to address all the things that need to be done by then. I think let's look at this positively as an important first step, and I think what we're doing is reasonable here, because by changing the rules in this way, it gives those people who are going to be affected notice to take action, of at least a year before the rules come in on this. Just on the issue of probate, I think that it's a good point you raised, Councillor Mullins. Currently, the exemption for a property where the sole occupier has passed away from the date they passed away up to the grant of probate is 6 months after the grant of probate. However, provided the property remains occupied. However, it's only at the end of that point that the full charge would then apply. So, re the premium, it seems no premium would apply for up to a year after that 6 months has expired. So, in effect, people have got a year and a half to sort out their affairs, which, again, even with some of the solicitors I've worked with, is probably a reasonable period of time to get that done. So on that ground, I'm going to move to the recommendation. I move that the Cabinet is requested to recommend that full council approve a premium of 100% for dwellings which are unoccupied and substantially unfurnished. The empty homes premium after 1 year instead of 2 years from the 1st of April 2025. Approve the application of a premium for dwellings occupied periodically, second homes, charged at 100%, which is twice the current council tax amount from the 1st of April 2025, and delegate the authority to the Head of Corporate Finance, our Section 151 officer, to implement this council's policy on premiums in line with statute and any subsequent guidance issued by the Secretary of State following the outcome of the consultation, which recommends exemptions to the second home premium in certain circumstances. We just to confirm on that point, actually, DLUC made an announcement on Monday that the exceptions will be empty properties that are uninhabitable due to extensive renovation, second homes that are not available for use year-round due to planning restrictions, which would cover caravans, I suppose, caravan parks, and properties which have been inherited. So we'll have to wait for some of the finer details for what extensive renovations means, and how long exemptions will last. But I think that adds a bit more detail. So can I have a seconder? Councillor Irving, thank you. In which case, is that agreed? Thank you, Cabinet. We will now consider the enhanced... Oh, sorry, yes, we move on to item 7 now, which is the Enhanced Retail Shopfront Improvement Grants Programmes report, which we will begin shortly. Thank you very much. I'm very pleased to bring to Cabinet for approval our Enhanced Shopfront and High Street Improvement Programme. Bearing in mind the very challenging times that town centres are facing, I think this is a particularly timely initiative, and I hope the first step in a sustained programme of support. Our new programme is a relaunch from the original Retail Improvement Grant Scheme due to the fact that we've been able to combine funding obtained from the government with funds from the West Sussex Business Rates Pool to establish a larger programme. The programme focuses on 2 pillars. For the first one, we're inviting independent retailers and small businesses in Crawley Town Centre or in Crawley's neighbourhood parades to apply for a shopfront improvement grant. We all know that independent retailers and small businesses are crucial to the success, vibrancy and diversity of our local economy, and we also know that improving the visual appearance of shop fronts in the town centre and across our neighbourhoods can make a real difference to business success. So independent retailers and small businesses from Crawley Town Centre and the parades will have the opportunity to apply for grants of up to £5,000 to invest in improving their shop fronts and their frontline business operation. And this programme will be promoted by our Economic Development and Regeneration team, who will be able to offer advice and support to businesses that are interested in applying. Businesses will be able to apply online through the Council's website. Details of what these grants can be spent on are set out in section 4 of this report. We're also improving the way the grants programme operates to make it much easier for small businesses and independent retailers to apply, and that's all set out in section 5. The second pillar of our programme will be investment by the Council in targeted improvements to the visual appearance of the Broadway, the Broadwalk and Crawley High Street in the town centre. We intend to plan the nature of those improvements carefully. We won't predetermine what they are, but we will be working very closely with local business reps in those areas of the town centre and with the town centre business improvement district. This shopfront and high street improvements programme is a relatively small but symbolically very important addition to our regeneration programme and to the One Town economic recovery for Crawley. So working with the local business community and with the town centre business improvement district, we very much hope to be able to unlock further significant funding in order to sustain this exciting new programme, bringing long-term benefits to small businesses and retailers in our town centre and neighbourhood parades. But actually, Cabinet, I'm sure you'll agree with me here in saying that the Council is far from complacent. Crawley has a good record. In 2023, we had 15 million visits to our town centre, which I understand is 5 million more than Horsham had. Not that we're making invidious comparisons, of course. And I also was very pleased to know that recent statistics have revealed that there are 4,000 more jobs in the borough compared to the previous recorded year, which I think is also a very positive step. But we do know that keeping our town centre as vibrant and as attractive as possible is one of our key tasks in the coming years. That's why we've just begun a large-scale improvement of the Western Boulevard of the part of town. We're now in public consultation on the major regeneration of the Station Gateway and the Martlets, and this weekend we'll be officially switching the fountains back on for the first time in several years. So absolutely, I think some very positive things that are there. So on that note, I'll pass it over to Councillor Crowe, who's indicated he'd like to speak.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairman. I hope there aren't any stalagmites or stalactites. I can't remember which way goes up for water that hasn't been moved for some years. But no, I want to voice my support for this initiative. And I have to say, I wasn't actually aware of this existing programme, and I'm not sure how much awareness there has been previously. I noted in the report that I think we had 6 applications, so we hadn't had a significant amount of previous interest. So the fact that we have this this funding available from government and from the West Sussex Business Rate Pool, we are right to be a bit more flexible to be able to sort of utilise it to get those sort of small scale improvements. And I like the criteria. It's not, it's definitely has to be an improvement, something for the longer term rather than just sort of day to day, whether it's replenishing stock or what have you. So hopefully something that will either improve the external or indeed the internal of a shop premises. But we know it's a tough environment out there for all sorts of reasons for small retail, and very sadly I know of one town centre small shop that is going to close this week after several years of being open. It is really tough, so anything we can do to better utilise this money, like you say, in addition to the separate large-scale schemes that have been done, that will be coming forward in the town centre, has to be welcomed. Presumably, we will either ourselves or the bid will make efforts to ensure that there is awareness of the funding that is in. I see the officer nodding, so that is welcome, because I'm not sure how much awareness there has been of previously. Indeed, amongst members, I don't know, because I myself, it's not something that sprung to mind when I read this report. So I don't quite remember us having that. So look forward to this coming in. Hopefully, we will see some applications, but there does obviously need to be due diligence. But I'm comfortable from reading the report that due diligence will be applied, even though the criteria is being lessened. I see that more of flexibility to enable more premises to come forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Crowe. I'm sure I can reassure everyone that due diligence and close attention to detail will be applied to these grants. I must, however, express my sadness that a fine native of Derbyshire with all the underground caverns there, I can't remember the stalactites and the stalagmites. Stalactites hang down and stalagmites stick up, Councillor Crowe. So that's some of my geography A-level coming in handy there. So I've got Councillor Irvine and Councillor Rana that I've seen indicate so far, and then Councillor Sue Mullins. So Councillor Irvine.
Oh, thank you, Chair. I mean, of course I support this. I think you'd have to be crazy not to. There is a question I do have, though. I mean, in the report it says, one point it says businesses in the town centre or on the neighbourhood parades, which I hope include not just our council-owned neighbourhood parades, but all the neighbourhood parades. And then again, in another point, it says any shop or business within Crawley Borough. Now, given that there are a lot of independent shops in Crawley Borough that aren't actually on a neighbourhood parade, particularly around the sort of edges of the town centre, will they be able to apply for this as well?
I'm happy to be corrected here, but my understanding is there's no restriction. I suppose we use parades as a shorthand for the smaller independent shops, but Clem, would you like to come in here?
Thank you very much. Yeah, all within the borough, businesses obviously operating as retailers, independent retailers or small businesses offering frontline services in that in terms of retail units can apply. Clearly there will be a focus on parades and the town centre as focal points for business activity because of the multiplier effect that those investments will deliver. But obviously individual grant application will be assessed on their merits, and clearly decisions will be taken as to prioritising the most attractive grant applications.
The other point I was making was, will this be applying to all their neighbourhood parades, regardless of who owns them?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Rana.
Thank you, Chair. I mean, I definitely welcome this as well. I think it's a very good idea. I mean, as Clem said, they'll be for independent shops as well, because I live in West Green, and opposite the church walk, we got it's a hairdressers and a tattoo shop, and that's really can do with a really facelift as well. It's really, even the pavement is no good. You can actually easily slip over, and then further down the road there's a pub when there's a drain there, and the drain is always overflowing. Whenever it rains, I don't know if anybody complained yet or not, but it's always water running down from the drain, from the pub to the hairdressers. So that should really be looked at. And another thing, there's a few other shops that really need to be done, and even the pavement is really, really bad. Someone can actually easily fall over and hurt themselves. So I think that's a very good idea, and I think maybe I will actually talk to the shop owners and tell them to apply for it, or even if someone from the council can go and look at them, because they're not really in a good state at all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rana. Thank you. Councillor Sue Mullins.
Thank you, Chair. This is a really hard time at the moment for our small retailers, the people who haven't got the sort of backup that our big retailers have, even though they're struggling as well. But there's an awful lot of small retailers who are really having on hard times. In the cost of living crisis that we're going through at the moment, people just simply have less money in their pockets. And if you've got less money in your pocket, you don't go out and spend it in the shops in the way you would normally do so. So all our retailers, I think, are really feeling the pinch. I really welcome this scheme, and I'm really happy to read through the criteria and the sort of safeguards to make sure that the money is used correctly. One of the things I did notice the other day, just idly, I was in County Mall, and as I walked through County Mall, I just counted how many empty shops there were. Now that's our major retail area in town, and I counted 13 empty shops within County Mall. quite unbelievable. County Mail do a very good job of disguising the fact that the shops are empty. They use foils, they do all sorts of things to decorate their shop fronts, and it keeps it looking really tidy. But when you hear about what's happened in other town centres that have been completely decimated, I do worry about our own town, because we can't afford to lose any more shops, I think, than we already have. So this scheme, it could be really helpful to some of our small retailers, but again, we need to reach out to them and encourage them to come forward. And I'm really glad that we've got good rules around it to make sure that if we give out any money, it's not huge amounts of money, but it is well spent and it's to the benefit of the town. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sue Mullins. In terms of units, we still, I take your point, we still do relatively well here in Crawley in comparison to the national situation. I think I'm correct in saying that we have a lower vacancy rate in terms of units than the national average, and also the number of units that have been vacant has come down in the last couple of years. I think it's probably worth stressing that COVID probably finished off quite a lot of businesses in that respect, so the figures might not be as excellent bearing that in mind, but saying that anything we can do to help, and we know that retail is in a challenging position at the moment, really difficult, that we're doing some really positive but small but achievable improvements that people will actually be able to see a tangible difference, and might be the difference between lifting up a parade and just making it that sort of place that people want to shop or invest in even more. So I think it's very positive. I think I saw Councillor Khan indicate, so Yasmin.
I just wanted to check that we're talking about shops. What about small pharmacies? Will they be covered under this scheme? Because if they're in our neighbourhood, and will they be covered?
It's a business unit in a neighbourhood, so it would be part of the programme. Yes, if it's a small business independent. Yeah.
Thank you. Another thing, like Councillor Crowe said, that he wasn't aware, and most people won't be aware. So I think what we should do once this is agreed, and if we have the link to the funding, we could go around and give it out to all our shops in our area and spread the word.
Well, Councillor Khan, it's funny you should say that, but we do have some intention to promote the new scheme as widely as possible. I very much hope that we will be able to remind businesses on a periodic basis as well. I've inquired with our communications team if we can go and Crawley Live. I think it's very positive. There should be something hopefully going out promoting awareness in the next few days as well. So, and all credit to the team for putting this together. I think it's going to be something that I think is very, very useful. Clearly, there's quite a lot of businesses in Crawley, and there is a finite amount of money. So we will keep going until we have found a use for all of it. I don't see anyone else indicating, in which case I'll move on to the recommendations. Thank you, everyone. I think we've had a good debate tonight, and I'm wondering if I can ask Chris Pedlow, is it possible I can just move whatever is on the relevant page? Otherwise, we could be here for a while.
As long as everyone agrees.
Yes, certainly. The recommendation, which is on page 23, I understand. Everyone can see the A, B, C, D parts of the recommendation. So I'm going to formally move that. Can I have a seconder? I heard Councillor Rana, so as she sounded enthusiastic, I'll take hers or second her. Thank you, Councillor Rana. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you. We're on to the supplemental agenda. There is no supplementary agenda. So with the business of the Cabinet of the 13th of March concluded, I thank everyone for their participation. I apologise to anyone listening on this for sound quality issues. We will do everything we can to resolve that for next time. And so the meeting is now closed at 19:41. Many thanks. And we'll have a few moments before YouTube leaves us.